Despite what you might think, there's more to a good offer in commercial real estate than just the price. My team and I just put in an offer for $4.2 million on an apartment building. Despite not knowing if we got it yet, we know that this is a solid offer and as good as we could do given the numbers that we have. I'm Ryan Sarka. I'm the co-founder of Rydon Asset Management. We've closed over 80 doors now and have been purchasing apartment buildings, commercial real estate, and asset managing these properties for over 8 years now. So let's get into it. High level basics. What goes into a good offer, a good LOI, letter of intent? First, obviously, it's the price. Obviously, the seller and the broker want the highest price that they can get. Us as the buyer, we want the lowest price that we can get. There's always going to be a disconnect there until you get an agreement somewhere in the middle. You hope that you can be in the middle, and that will depend on where in the market cycle you are. Right now, it seems as though we've left the top of the seller's market and are steadily going down. So prices appear to be coming down a little bit from where they were just a few months ago. Besides that, we have financing contingencies. In this high seller's market, you might not be able to put in a financial contingency. That might take you right out of the game, but it lends a lot of safety to the seller. And it's definitely something it lends a lot of safety to the buyer. And as a buyer, it's something that we like to have in our LOIs. But it's not always something that the seller wants to see. A lot of times they want this deal to go through no matter what. And financing, especially now where there's a lot of uncertainty, can make or break these deals. Another thing that you would expect to see is earnest money. Earnest money deposit. That's how much money are you putting down on the property? Basically, good faith deposit. What is the amount, and when or if this money goes hard, meaning it's non-refundable? So the amount varies. It varies on the property. It varies on the type of property, type of asset, the quality of the asset, how much competition there is, the market, etc. Obviously, the larger deposit shows that you're more serious. It shows that you have the cash or more cash in hand. It essentially gives confidence to the broker and the seller. So the more that you can do, the better. Generally, what we like to do right now is we like to do two portions to our earnest money. So one, once we agree on the contract price, so we'll put in a certain amount, maybe it's 1%. Let's say for this example, it's 1% of the purchase price when we sign that contract. And the second time we put down earnest money will be when due diligence is completed. And this will be a second 1%. And at this point, once we put it in, it's going to be non-refundable. So that means obviously the stakes are high at that point. You don't want to lose the deal once that money goes hard and is non-refundable. Because that can be a lot of money. It can be thousands and thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on the price of this asset. Next is terms, due diligence, closing, and any extensions you have. Due diligence, again, all of this varies based on your market, the property, the asset's location in a certain market, the ABCD, what type of property it is, competition, all of that stuff is going to change all of this. So just keep that in mind. But due diligence, a lot of times for terms overall, right now, people seem to be looking for, as a rule of thumb, about 60 days from going into that contract to executing the contract at the end. I've heard plenty of brokers tell me that if you have an extension in there, your LOI is going to go towards the bottom of the list. People don't want to see extensions. As a buyer, as somebody putting in the offer, I like to have an extension just because it adds safety. It adds a margin of safety. Our last property, we literally closed on the last possible day that we had. And that's happened to me twice now. So it's something you got to be careful of. Even if you do everything right on your end, you're dealing with so many other people, third parties, you need to get surveys, you need to get reports done, you're dealing with banks, lenders, etc. You don't know what they're going to be doing. Due diligence phase. This is when you go to the property, you do your physical due diligence inspection, and you do the reporting side, skimming through all sorts of papers, documentation that you're getting from your broker, from your seller, and anything else, police reports, whatever, insurance, all of that. Generally 30 days right now, goes up maybe 45 days, depends. Closing, again, 30 days, maybe 45 days, it depends. If you're trying to hit that 60-day mark, maybe it's 30 and 30, but that can vary based on what the seller is looking for right now. Another thing in our LOI, in our offers, we like to add in taxes. How are these real property taxes prorated at the closing? And I like to go with whatever's customary in the locale that we're purchasing in. A lot of things that can vary from state to state, from county to county. I like to go with what that broker in that specific area is used to, because that's going to make it seem, like we're willing to work with them. We're willing to do business with them. We're willing to do it their way. That's a good thing, makes it easier for them. People like things to be easy. They like less friction. Next is the PSA, the amount of time from the signing of the LOI, getting that John Hancock on there from the buyer and the seller, to getting a purchase and sales agreement written up. Who's going to write that up? Is it the buyer, is the seller? And how long is it going to take to get there? The amount of time can vary. Again, this could be 5 days, could be 10 days. It depends. A lot of these are, it depends. And possibly you have an LOI deadline written in. So when does your letter of intent expire? You might want it to expire the end of business day. If you're, for whatever reason, you need to know now. You want to know now if this offer is good or if it's bad. Generally, I'm giving people 3 to 5 days. And when I say days, I used to do business days, and I've since gone to calendar days on all of these things. Again, depends on the market cycle that we're in, but more recently, it's been calendar days, because that shortens the timeline, showing that you're more willing to work with the seller, with the broker, and get this deal done quickly in a time where everybody wants deals done quickly. So those are all of the things that are fairly obvious in your offer and fairly obvious to make a good offer. The better you can do on all of those things, all of those different metrics, the better your offer is going to be, the higher on the list you're going to go with the broker and the seller, and more likely you'll be to get that deal. But there are a couple hidden things that are just as important as the price, the terms, etc. And depending on who you're talking to, which broker you're talking to, maybe they feel more important about, maybe they think these things are more important than those. So put yourself in the broker's shoes, in the seller's shoes, and think about what they are looking for when they're selling a property, when they're selling their asset. They want to look at your reputation. Your reputation is something that's built consistently through your relationships with these people. So you want to make sure that it's a good reputation. You want to be quick to respond to them. Are you able to answer questions efficiently, intelligently, and again, quickly? All of those things make a difference, and make a difference in how a broker or a seller thinks of you as a buyer. You want to let them know your experience. So with every LOI I submit, I also send in a bio, and this bio has certain things about me. It tells a little bit about my background. It says who and what kind of debt I've worked with before. It tells them how many properties I have and where, and how long I've been asset managing these properties, basically how long I've been in the game, what I've done. So I think that's important. I like to add a picture so that they know who this piece of paper is coming from. That picture is the same picture that's in my email signature and the same picture that you see in various places online. So there's consistency there, so that when they're talking to me through email, they see this LOI document, they see LinkedIn, whatever, it's the same photo of me. They can put that together and be like, oh, it's this guy who posts this on LinkedIn, who also who put this LOI in, who I've been talking to on the phone all the time. So other things that are, super important to your offer that are basically invisible. Have you ever met this broker in person? I think that makes a difference. I will admit that I don't always get to meet every single broker in person prior to putting in an LOI. The last LOI that we put in, I have not met him in person. I've met his team member in person. We've closed a deal with his team member, but I haven't met this specific broker in person. Does that make a difference? Yeah, I think it does make a difference to credibility and possibly how much he, throws my offer to the top of the list versus somebody else that he might have met. Have you toured the property? Again, kind of falls in line with have you met the broker in person. Touring the property definitely helps. I think if you can do it yourself, the guy or girl on that LOI, I think that makes a big difference. If you can't do it, maybe you can have a team member do it, your local property manager do it, somebody like that. Also, while you're going through this whole process of putting in an offer, you want to know why they're selling the property. So you want your offer to be tailored to why they're selling it. Are they selling because there's an issue with one of the partners? Are they selling because, they're looking to buy other assets? Are they selling because the market's changing? They want to just liquidate? What are the reasons and how can you tailor your offer to meet those needs? Like maybe you want to put in a slightly higher purchase price, but give yourself a longer amount of time to get things done. So there's a little bit less risk on your side. Maybe generally less risk might vary based on how interest rates are going. Like interest rates right now they seem to be going up and up and up. So maybe you want to close as quickly as possible, and that's always good. Or maybe that's what you want to do is maybe that seller wants to close super quickly. So maybe instead of 60 days total, maybe you can bring that down to like 45 days or something of that nature. Get it done quicker. Maybe they want to see more of a earnest money deposit. All of those things, those are things that the broker can tell you, that the seller can tell you. They can't generally disclose what kind of offers they're getting, but they can tell you these types of things that will make a difference in your offer. Ask the broker, the seller, where they expect their deal to trade at and what constraints they have. So again, that goes into what we just talked about, what type of constraints they have. Term structure, is there a 1031 deposit structure, certain amount of closing time, all of those good things. Next, can you find any commonalities with the seller? A lot of times you're working through a broker, so it's going to be really hard to do, but maybe you can sneak in, where are they from? What else do they own? Do they own other assets in the town that I own assets in? Like whatever makes some sort of commonality that might give you a slight edge over somebody else. Next bullet point is, does the seller have any employees? If they have any employees on the property, do they expect these employees to stay on site, to stay manager, to stay maintenance person, to stay leasing person, whatever this might be? And if they do, if they expect this, can you somehow make sure that these people, assuming they are good at their job, can you make sure that they stay with the property? Because certain times these sellers are, they become attached to these people. They worked with them for possibly years, who knows how long, and they care about the welfare of their team. So can you keep them on? That could make a big difference there. And lastly, I think this is the last bullet point that I have right now on the invisible side of things, is that if your offer is below asking price, and a lot of times they are, a lot of times mine are, most times mine are, to be perfectly clear, perfectly honest, they typically are. That's fine. You have to be able to explain yourself, explain your reasons why, tell them why, give them the data, give them the pricing, give them the numbers. Talk to your mortgage broker prior to, talk to your insurance broker prior to, get these numbers. If you have another property in the area and you know how much repairs and maintenance costs, if you know how much contract services cost, if you know whatever it might be, if you know how much your expenses are on a per unit basis, per door basis, per year, let's say it's like 3,500, let's say it's 4,500, depends on your market. And you can mark that, you can tell them, this is where I'm coming in, this is why. I think that makes a big difference. So to recap, what makes a good offer? there are all the things that you would typically expect. There's the pricing, there's the terms, there's the earnest money down. There's does it go hard? There's how quickly it goes hard. But then there's everything else, like how well do they know you? What's your reputation? Can you work with the seller? Can you make this an amicable deal on both sides? Can you make the seller happy with your offer? Sometimes doing all of these things, your price may not be the highest price, but they might know from working with you, from talking with you, from looking at your stuff online, from getting emails, from getting calls, they might believe that you're the better one to close, that you will close. And that can make all the difference, because if you don't close, if somebody else doesn't close, that's a lot of time down the drain for the buyer, or for the seller, and for the broker. So not only is everything on your letter of intent important, but there's all of those invisible things. I hope this was helpful. Please hit that like button if you don't mind, and share it if you think it was helpful. Appreciate you watching. Cheers.